Celtics get a bounce back win against whatever was left of the Orlando Magic. Why this was the best and the worst of the Celtics all in one game right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Where it is your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them every Monday through Friday. And now I'm back to bonus podcasts when they play on weekends. So make sure you're subscribed. The show is free. It's available everywhere podcasts exist. It's on YouTube, and it's on the #1 sports podcast network in the universe. So thank you, everydayers, people who are with me Monday through Friday, for making that happen. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've been doing a version of this job for about 20 years, doing this podcast for 10, and I've also written a couple of books about the team. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, you bet $5. You get 300 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Celtics win. They get the 138-129 barn burner win over the Orlando Magic. Later on in the third segment, I'll talk about why everybody's learning lessons from top to bottom. Everybody's learning lessons on this team. We'll get into some individual performances. Where was Luka Garza in this one? That'll be in the second segment. Let's start with the best and the worst of the Celtics, and we'll start with the very worst, which is a sprained ankle and injury for Neemias Queta, which, you know, whether you're a critic of his or not, he is important to this team, and he left in the first quarter with a sprained left ankle. He did not return. I don't know how serious it is, but it's serious enough where we didn't see him. He wasn't around after the game. It looks like it was, he limped off. He went straight to the back. So there is some concern. The Celtics have been pretty good about avoiding injuries so far this year. They who's missed time outside of Jayson Tatum? There's Luka Garza missed one game. Jay King and I were sitting there on the press row trying to figure out if anybody else has, and I don't think anybody else has. And so the potential for Queta to miss games is going to be a little problematic, especially because Wednesday's game is against the Detroit Pistons. Detroit, you need all the size and strength you can get against the Pistons. That's already going to be a tough game. That's already going to be like you have to be your absolute best to beat the Pistons, because not only have they been rolling, they've beaten the Celtics before, and they have all the strengths where Boston's weaknesses are. And if you lose Queta, then that's one of the strengths that the Celtics, they need that against the Pistons. So we'll see if he's able to go or not. If not, then I don't have the highest hopes against that, against the Pistons on Wednesday, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes, and we'll see how Queta is. Hopefully it's not that bad. So I characterize it as the best and the worst of the Celtics. The best was in that second quarter where the Celtics were flying around. They were getting steals. They were forcing turnovers, points off of turnovers. They didn't even force a ton of turnovers necessarily. The second quarter was their best as far as defending in forcing turnovers. They forced 3 steals. They had 3 steals in that second quarter. You get, that's what? 12 per game. That's a pretty good number if you can get there. But they cashed in on all of their steals. They had 3. They got 7 points off of that. They had two steals in the first quarter, and they had 5 points off of that. So it was 12 points off of 5 turnovers in the first half. That's awesome. That's where the Celtics need to be. And one of the problems the Celtics have had all season long was, you're forcing turnovers, but they haven't been cashing in those turnovers. In this one, they did in the first half, and that's how you build a lead. In that second quarter, they get the lead up to 23 at one point, and it looked like the game was broken open. They put up 48 points, which is just an insane monster quarter. They scored 80 points in the first half. It was historic. It's one of 10 times in team history that they've put up 80 points in a single half. And so that was absolutely the Celtics at their best. They were at their worst in the fourth quarter, where that almost flipped. They won the third quarter. I mean, they won the second quarter 48-30. The third quarter was pretty even. They lost it 32-30. But you could already see the beginnings of the problems, because all of a sudden Orlando can't miss. The Orlando, a team whose offense has been horrible, missing all of those starters, and next thing you know, okay, Jet Howard gets going. Noah Penda comes in and plays great. Jace Richardson starts to play great. Like, all of these names, you're telling me that the Celtics up 26 at one point, you're going to lose or you're going to blow a game to Noah Penda, Jace Richardson, and Jet Howard? But that's basically what started to happen. Penda in the third quarter, unstoppable, 13 points on perfect 5 of 5 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3, 4 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, a blocked shot. What? Noah Penda? That's a guy that I was thinking the Celtics should draft. And here he is. Boom. Killing him. Fourth quarter, it was the Jet Howard show, co-starring Jace Richardson. 8 of 13, 3 of 5 from 3, a perfect 3 of 3 from the line. He had 4 rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds, and an assist. Jace Richardson, 5 of 8. They combined for 36 of 40 points. The only other 4 points came from Desmond Bane, who was the only starter to play in the fourth quarter. Everyone else, Franz Wagner sat. Anthony Black sat. Jonathan Isaac didn't play in the second. Like, it was just the end of bench guys. Howard, Tyus Jones, Penda, they all played 12 minutes, and they brought the Magic all the way back. If it wasn't for Jaylen Brown and the Celtics kind of like being able to do just enough, this would have been a demoralizing loss. This would have been a horrible loss. The Celtics were able to kind of go toe-to-toe with the Magic and do enough. They lost the second half 72-58. The Magic shot 52% in the second half. They shot 11 of 20, 55% from 3. The only good thing is that they didn't go to the line like they did in the first half, where the Celtics were fouling. The Celtics just continue to foul. Although, to be honest with you, I wouldn't minded some fouls in the fourth quarter, because at least that would have meant they were defending somebody. The Celtics, they did go to the line 5 times, but I would have liked to see some defense. Like, at least when you're fouling, it tells me you're trying to play defense. At least you're trying to get into position. The fourth quarter, and it's interesting that Jaylen was like, once guys get, once the game seems like it's in hand, guys start to think like they get a different mentality. He was basically saying that some of the guys are kind of like, once the game's in hand, they kind of break from the game plan and they start looking for their own offense, their own shots, their own whatever, and can't have that. I followed up that comment was like, hey, there are guys out there who are in competition with each other for minutes. They want minutes. They want a bigger role on this team. Maybe they're auditioning for another team. How do you balance that? And he didn't shy away from that. He didn't say that that's not what I'm talking about. He said, like, that's, we all have to, our voices matter. The coaching staff voices matter. So I think in there is Jaylen saying, like, when we do get these leads, we can't break from the plan and have people go like, okay, now I'm going to go get my, let me get a few more buckets here. Hey, let me go get a few buckets here. Different guys are like, let me ISO, let me do this so I can go do, so I can get some points and have my numbers look good. I think Jaylen is basically saying, like, some guys aren't sticking to the game plan the whole time. But the thing is, the Celtics need to stick to the game plan the whole time. If they're not playing perfectly, they're playing poorly. That's what it boils down to for me, for the Celtics. Their margin for error is like 0. So if you're not playing perfectly, you're playing poorly, because you're allowing something. Is it second chance points? Is it free runs to the rim? Is it looks from three that are way too open because you've overhelped? Is it taking bad shots, settling for bad shots, and giving the other team misses to run off of? All of those things pile up. Celtics had a lead of 26. They were hanging around, at least in the third quarter. They kind of matched punch for punch what Orlando was doing. And in the fourth quarter, the Celtics 3-point shooting kind of went away, and Orlando just got to put up another 40-point quarter. Celtics just keep giving up 40-point quarters randomly around, to anybody. Anybody can get a 40-point quarter off the Celtics. That's a problem. That's a problem. They cannot keep doing that. But they did just enough to win because Jaylen Brown was the closer. We'll talk about Jaylen, the closer, and some of the other guys. And where was Luka Garza in this? We'll do all of that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Gusto. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in. It takes the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. It's the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR program that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. You can get unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save you hours every week. And knowing you can reach a certified HR expert anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA, and you get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Wayfair. Now, I know all about Wayfair because me and my wife shop at Wayfair a lot. Half our house is Wayfair, and with the holidays right around the corner, Thanksgiving is this week. You got to get your home ready in time for guests. So that might mean new linens. It might mean fun new serveware. Whatever you're doing, hosting, redecorating, whatever it is, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help your space shine. And you don't have to wait. Black Friday deals are happening right now. They've been happening all month long. You get up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. So everything ships fast, just in time for the holidays. Browsing through the site is super easy and very shareable. I've said this before, but my wife will all of a sudden, it'll be like Wayfair links like crazy. And because it's very easy to share and see and compare. And for whatever style whatever style is yours, they have it. Whatever your price point is, they have it. So if you've ever hosted a family for the holidays, you know how much the new touches can make a difference. And Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on Black Friday deals at wayfair.com. Shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. WAYFAR.com. The sale ends December 7th. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Also, the number one Boston Celtics podcast on the planet. I'm the number one sports podcasting network on the planet. A lot of number ones, and it's all because you, the everydayer who are with me every Monday through Friday, you're here, and I love you for it. Thanks to everybody who comes up and says hi at the arena. If you're ever at a game, Section 19, if you see me, come say hi. I'm always happy to meet everybody. So thank you all for that. Let's get back to what happened on the floor in this game. The fourth quarter belonged to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen is, first of all, a stat. This was his 8th 30-point game. He is on pace. Now, he's not going to play 82 games, but over an 82-game schedule, he's on pace for 30-point games or more. His previous high was 22 games a couple seasons ago. So Jaylen is putting out like big time numbers, 35 points, 14 of 26 shooting, 8 assists. He was finding Josh Minott. So Minott was a big part of that second quarter, hitting a couple of threes, but operating out of that dunker spot. the Celtics, and I heard it mentioned on the broadcast over the weekend. I think it was in the Brooklyn game, which I'm not going to even address. It happened. I was gone. You know what? I think we can all agree. No need to talk about that game. That was gross. I watched it after the fact. Didn't like it. I'm just going to gloss past it right now because everything that I'm going to say in this game, in upcoming games, it all applies. So, but guys aren't operating out of the dunker spot like they have been in the past. And I think that'll help Jaylen Brown. Like Jaylen dumping off to Minot down low, and even Jordan Walsh sometimes having somebody in that dunker spot that you can count on, especially a smaller guy, a wing, a guard, that really is going to help. I think they need to get back to some more of that. But Jaylen was finding Minot driving. I think there were a couple of potential assists that, he was just short of a double-double there. But Jaylen had 12 straight points in the fourth quarter to kind of hold off Orlando. They got that lead all the way down to 6 in the fourth quarter. But Jaylen was there and really, carrying the offense. I've said it before, it's an all-NBA season for him. There's no doubt in my mind. The way he's playing now, if he just continues this, he has to make an all-NBA team. It's the Celtics are 9-7, and it's largely because Jaylen is doing a ton and carrying the entire offense for stretches. So he had 13 in the fourth quarter. They got 5 out of Derrick White, 4 from Anfernee Simons, who was really good. And that's basically it. A bucket from Peyton Pritchard, 1 from Sam Hauser, 1 from Baylor Shireman. That's it. It was Jaylen, who was 5 of 7 in the fourth quarter, that really stood out. But like I said, Simons and Minot were good. Minot had 10 points in a row in that second quarter run. Simons just came in and was cooking. He took one shot. It was one of those heat check, really like gutsy kind of shots that he drilled. He was feeling it. And this is the aggressive type of Anfernee Simons that the Celtics really could use. He is struggling to figure out where, when can he hop in? When does he need to be aggressive? And this goes to some of the lessons that I'm talking about in a couple of minutes here, but his struggles have to do with a change in his role. He's coming off the bench. He's not starting right now. If he does end up starting, maybe that'll change some things, but for now, he is coming off the bench. 23 points, 8 of 11 shooting, 23 points in 22 minutes is really good. 5 rebounds, a couple assists. Simons, once he gets going, he's unstoppable, man. That guy just is a straight up bucket, and if he hits his first shot, then forget it. Just sit back and enjoy the show. And the Celtics do need that. And this is where I keep struggling. Like, do they need it in the first quarter? Do they need somebody to take the pressure off of Jaylen? I saw a couple of possessions, and Simons wasn't on the floor for this. I saw a couple of possessions in a row where Jaylen was able just to park himself in the corner, and the Celtics were running basically a 4-on-4 on the other side of the floor, and they scored. They were competitive. It worked. And I was like, yes, more of this, more pick and rolls and reads that Peyton Pritchard can make. And you throw Derrick White in one corner, you run a pick and roll, somebody rotates up, you've got a couple of shooters out there, and let Jaylen just draw a defender. That was great. That, like, enjoy that kind of couple of possessions off. They need to get Jaylen some possessions off. But to get somebody like Simons out there, as long as he's on the team, just get him that those reps. And maybe he doesn't start because they don't think he's a long-term solution on the team and they don't want to, screw it up. It's easier to fill in somebody off the bench than it is to get a starter out of there. So I don't know, but he was good. Minot was good. Luka Garza was neither of those things because he didn't play. And I understand why he didn't play, because Orlando, which is typically a big, tough physical team, you might be able to say against them, you can throw Garza out there because they're not going to blow by him necessarily with some of the size that they have. But with the guys that they were throwing out there, if you put Garza on the floor, you think he was going to hang with any of these guys? No. And it really is interesting. It's Joe's lineups, like, you have to really put some thought into them. You can't just assume, oh, Queta went down with a sprained ankle, here comes Luka Garza. No, Chris Boucher got off the bench. You're like, now why is Boucher in this game? And frankly, I watched him play this and he was getting roasted left and right. So I wasn't thrilled with the Boucher minutes. And I think maybe this signing isn't working out. He wasn't good. And I'm starting to see, like, what are the scenarios where he is good? So he came in, and the Celtics ultimately decided to go with Minot at the center and some Jordan Walsh at the center, but instead of Luka Garza. And that's just how it's going to be with these. Just when you think you have a grasp on some regularity, even though Joe said there's no there's no rotations. He was at practice on Thursday. Like, we don't have any set rotations. What rotations? Somebody asked him about it. He's like, we don't have any substitution patterns. There is no pattern. And he's right, because just when you think one thing, he throws another one at you. He's like Greg Maddux with the changeup. It's like, oh, okay, big swing and a miss for me. So, but I get it. Garza probably would not have been good here. And so he went with a different direction. And that was part of the up and down. Like, why were so many points being put up there? Because neither team had a big to protect the rim. You're just getting blown by left and right here, and everybody was just finishing at the rim. Like, it was a layup parade on both sides. And I don't think Luka Garza would have changed much. So, like, what shots is he blocking? He's just going to be toast out there. Which leads us to the lessons. Lessons for everybody. Lessons for Jaylen, for Derrick, for Peyton, for everybody, not just Ugo and Josh and those guys. That is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, you want to make a $5 bet? You can get up to $300 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. So if you want to get in on the action, whether it's at the start of the game or you want to watch for a little bit and see who has the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine all your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Sounds like something for Orlando fans, because that was one heck of a late push. Again, new customers, you can get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up. When you sign up and you log in, it'll ask you to set a limit, set a budget, say yes to that. Whatever you can afford to lose, that's what you set. Because every once in a while, you hit a cold streak and you don't want to go overboard. Very easy to get caught up in things. They want to help you gamble responsibly. So take advantage of the tools that they have over at FanDuel.com. Sign up and play your game at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Check out Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night. Game Night's a 7-day-a-week podcast that covers every game in the association. I'm normally there on Tuesday nights, Wednesdays with Jake Madison. Will not be there with Jake for the next couple of weeks because Jake's on his honeymoon. I was at his wedding this weekend. That's why I missed the Friday game. And I think I was in a better place than everyone else who watched that game. I was following along. It was not pretty. But check out Locked On NBA Game Night. 7 days a week. Locked On NBA, 5 days a week. That drops in the afternoons. find them where you found this podcast. So everybody's learning a lesson. You talk after the game, we talked to Anfernee Simons, and he's learning. How do I get hot off the bench? How do I come in after being cold? And, you know, he was saying, I used to be able to ease into a game. I want to see how they're defending me. And, you know, then you make your adjustments and I'd be able to like kind of adjust on the fly and figure things out. Can't do that now. You gotta see how they're defending before you go in and then get in there and do what you got to do. And he said, you know, you got to simplify. You can't do certain things, whatever. Like, that's great. Lesson learned. Now, I don't know where he's going to be next. I don't think it's going to be in Boston, but even if he stays in Boston, this is going to be his role. Maybe he does stay in Boston. Maybe they figure something out. And if that's the case, then he'd be one heck of a sixth man, and that could be a role that he thrives in. But this season is about giving him that lesson. But he's not the only one, right? We know that Josh Minot is learning lessons. He's figuring things out, how to stay ready, how to get starts one week and then all of a sudden play 7 minutes, you know, in a game. Walsh went from DNPs to getting starts, and he seems to be entrenched as a regular starter, which means time for a Joe Mazzulla changeup. Who knows if Jordan's going to be the starter, but he has to learn lessons. But like, Jaylen is learning lessons. When to drive, when to drive for a pass, when to drive for a shot. I said this, I tweeted this out actually. So my one thought from the Brooklyn game was that I think Jaylen is missing reads where the play is to just move the ball, reverse the ball, get it to the other side. I think he's missing these opportunities because he just sees like, okay, I got to score. I can just put my head down and score. And when he decides I have to score, all of a sudden now you're not making those reads. You're not looking for, oh, I got two on me, or they're starting to blitz. He's like, how do I break this? How do I bust this defense so I can get us a bucket? Which, understandably, of course, you're Jaylen Brown. You're doing a bulk of the team's scoring. But at the same time, you have to learn. And I think it's, when I say this, everybody learning lessons, like 5 possessions. That's it for Jaylen of what I'm talking about. But if it's 5 possessions of moving the ball instead of driving into the teeth of the defense, trying to score, those are 5 possessions where you get stuffed. Maybe you get, a contested layup and you miss, and that gives the other team advantages. We're talking about 5 possessions, but that could be double-digit swing. And every one of these guys, Simons, maybe that's 5 possessions. Derrick White, 5 possessions of him being able to be better. Now we're at 15 possessions, 20 possessions when you factor in some other guys. And Joe always talks about there's 15 or 20 possessions every game where you can be better and fix some things. And I think that these are the little things that if Jaylen does these things, then he goes from, a second or third team All-NBA to who knows where. Maybe it's a second team like lock. I don't know if he's going to make a first team, but who knows? Maybe he does if he starts doing some of these other things. And this is where people like to get into the comment section and, bust my chops a little bit, because yes, is it fair to be asking Jaylen to do even more? Right. It might not be, but he's the number one guy and he wants this, right? He's here for it. And so if there are places for him to get better, he wants to try to get better in that way. So that's what I think here. Like Derrick White, perfect example. Derrick, I think, is learning lessons on how to create for himself. And you know what? I don't even care if he doesn't quite get it all year. Like maybe he goes the whole season not being able to get it. And that would mean that I was wrong a little bit about how good he could be on his own in this situation, which is fine. Next season, he won't be in that situation. It's going to be him and Jaylen and Jayson and whoever, is it going to be Simons, or is it going to be a big, or is it going to be whatever? Some of this pressure is going to be off of him, but learning how to score and create for yourself and score more off the dribble, like that is something that Derrick is learning right now. Right now he's learning, because his shot creation is like twice as many shots off the dribble, his own shot creation this year than last year. And whatever lessons he's going to learn, he's a smart player, right? He gets it, he understands it, and he's trying to figure things out. And he had a good game in this one. He ended up with 16 points? 16 points on 5 of 11, 2 of 4 from the 3-point line, 4 of 4. He had 7 rebounds. He had 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. I mean, there was a stretch there where he was just blocking everything. He was like he was padding his stats. He was great. He was great in this game. But a couple of the shots, the 6 shots that he missed, were shots that I think in March are shots that he's going to be able to make. And beyond that, if he starts figuring that part out, and then next year takes that skill into a season with Tatum, with Brown, and now the pressure is off and he's got fewer defenders, well, now he can take those lessons and apply them then. So it's not just Jordan and Josh and Ugo and those guys who are all learning things that we're trying to figure out, like who can accentuate Jayson and Jaylen next season. Derrick is doing that. And if he can be better off the dribble, then he becomes a more dangerous player next year. And that takes pressure off of Jaylen and Jayson. That is all part of it. So same thing with Pritchard, same idea. So I see these guys slowly start to figure things out. I think that's an important element to what we're seeing on the floor. I'm not thrilled with the Celtics blowing a 26-point lead and they ultimately win it by 9. Not thrilled with how the fourth quarter went. They're not thrilled with how the fourth quarter went. But they ended up coming away with the win. Now comes the tough part, because Detroit's couple days off. We get Thanksgiving. Then you go to Minnesota and Cleveland on a back-to-back. And then you come home for the Knicks. You get a little bit of a break with Washington, but you get the Lakers on a back-to-back at home. And then Toronto, who's playing well. This is a tough stretch for the Celtics. And who knows what's going to happen with the NBA Cup knockout rounds, but they need to start applying some of these lessons, because right now they're 9-8. I don't know how this next stretch is going to go, but there's a strong potential, like three losses in a row here. Detroit, Minnesota, Cleveland. That's not out of the question. New York, 4 in a row. That's not out of the question. So how do you avoid it being a 4-game losing streak? How do you pick up one of those wins? Applying some of these lessons. And a lot of this is just keeping their mentality in the right place, coming in, executing, and all of that stuff. I'll be back to talk about more stuff from this game tomorrow, looking ahead to the Detroit game. Tomorrow we'll do that. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, get into the comments section there, share your thoughts with me and your fellow everydayers. Love to have you do that. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast and tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.